I'm Margaret. I'm 58 years old. And my son kicked me out of his wedding. Just threw me out like I was nothing. Like I was some stranger who wandered in off the street. And just when I thought my heart couldn't possibly break any further, just when I thought I'd felt the worst pain a mother could feel, he came to my house the next week demanding my property papers. The deed to my home. The home I worked myself to the bone to buy. The home where I raised him alone. This story is going to hurt. I'm not going to lie to you. It's painful. It's intense. And there are shocking twists that I still can't believe happened to me. So please stay with me until the end because what happened, what my own son did, you need to hear all of it. And please, if you're listening to this, hit that like button. Subscribe to Revenge Queens. Tell me in the comments where you're watching from. Maybe New York, Florida, Georgia, Texas, California. I love knowing there are people out there who understand what it's like to be betrayed by the person you love most in this world. Let me take you back. Let me tell you who I was before all of this destroyed me. I was a single mother. Daniel's father left when Daniel was only 2 years old. Just packed his bags one Tuesday morning and never came back. No explanation. No goodbye to his son. Nothing. So it was just me and Daniel. Just the two of us against the world. And I gave that boy everything. Everything. I worked as a nurse during the day, 12-hour shifts that left my feet swollen and my back screaming. Then I cleaned offices at night. 3 nights a week, I'd be on my hands and knees scrubbing bathroom floors and emptying trash cans while other people slept in their warm beds. I did that for years. Years. Because I wanted Daniel to have what other kids had. I wanted him to go to good schools. I wanted him to have new clothes, not hand-me-downs. I wanted him to play sports and go on school trips and never, ever feel like he was less than anyone else. I sacrificed everything for him. I didn't date. I didn't go out with friends. I didn't take vacations. Every single dollar, every single moment of my time, it all went to Daniel. And I was happy to do it. I was proud to do it. Because he was my son. My beautiful boy. And I loved him more than life itself. We were close. God, we were so close. He used to tell me everything. He'd come home from school and sit at the kitchen table and talk to me for hours. He'd show me his drawings. He'd tell me about his friends. When he got older, he'd tell me about girls he liked, about his dreams, about what he wanted to be when he grew up. We were a team. It was always us against the world. But then he met Olivia. Daniel was 26 when he met her. She was beautiful, I'll give her that. Tall, blonde, always perfectly put together. The kind of woman who looks like she's never had a hard day in her life. And from the very first time I met her, something felt wrong. I can't explain it. Mother's intuition, maybe. But there was something cold in her eyes when she looked at me. Something calculating. At first, it was small things. She'd suggest that Daniel didn't need to call me so often. She'd make little comments about how attached he was to me, always with this fake laugh like it was a joke. But I could hear the edge in her voice. She didn't like me. She didn't like how close Daniel and I were. Then she started talking about boundaries. That was her favorite word. Boundaries. She'd tell Daniel that he needed to set boundaries with me. That it wasn't healthy for a grown man to be so close to his mother. That I was enmeshed with him. That's the word she used. Enmeshed. Like loving your child is some kind of disease. And Daniel, my Daniel, he started pulling away. He stopped calling as much. When I'd text him, it would take days for him to respond. When I'd invite him over for dinner, something we used to do every single week, he'd make excuses. He was busy. He had plans with Olivia. He had work. Always something. The tension got worse as the wedding approached. I tried to be involved. I wanted to help plan. I wanted to be part of this important moment in my son's life. But Olivia made it clear I wasn't welcome. She didn't say it directly, she was too smart for that. But she'd forget to include me in planning meetings. She'd make decisions without telling me. When I'd offer suggestions, she'd smile that cold smile and say, "Thanks, Margaret, but we've got it handled." I felt myself becoming invisible. The person who gave birth to him, who raised him, who sacrificed everything for him, I was being erased. And Daniel let it happen. He just stood there and let her push me out of his life. The day of the wedding, I was determined to be positive. I told myself that maybe once they were married, things would get better. Maybe Olivia was just stressed about the wedding. Maybe once it was over, we could all move forward. So I got dressed in the most beautiful dress I owned, navy blue with delicate beading on the bodice. I'd spent money I didn't really have on that dress because I wanted to look nice for my son's wedding. I wanted him to be proud of me. I arrived at the venue early. It was a beautiful place, a historic mansion with manicured gardens and chandeliers that looked like they cost more than my car. I felt out of place, if I'm being honest. Everyone else looked so wealthy, so polished. But I held my head high. I was the groom's mother. I had every right to be there. I was standing near the entrance, smiling at guests as they arrived, when I saw Olivia. She was in her dressing room, visible through a window, and she was talking to Daniel. I couldn't hear what she was saying, but I could see her face. She looked angry. She was gesturing toward the main hall, toward where I was standing. And Daniel's face. God, his face went hard. Cold. Like he'd made a decision. 2 minutes later, he walked out. My son. My baby boy. He walked right up to me with this expression I'd never seen before. Blank. Empty. And he said, Mom, you need to leave. I thought I'd misheard him. I laughed. I actually laughed. I said, What? Daniel, honey, what are you talking about? And he said it again. You need to leave. Now. I felt like the floor was falling out from under me. Daniel, this is your wedding. I'm your mother. Why would I leave? He wouldn't even look at me. He was staring over my shoulder, like I was some stranger he couldn't wait to get rid of. Olivia is stressed. Your presence is making things difficult. You need to go. Making things difficult. My presence. The woman who gave birth to him, who raised him alone, who worked 2 jobs so he could have a good life. I was making things difficult. I started to argue. I started to say that this was insane, that I had every right to be there. But then Daniel motioned to a security guard. A security guard. And he said, Please escort her out. The humiliation of that moment. I can't describe it. Everyone was watching. All those wealthy, polished people in their expensive clothes, they all turned to stare as a security guard took my arm and led me toward the door. I could hear whispers. I could see people's shocked faces. And my son, my own son, just stood there and watched me go. I didn't cry until I got to my car. Then I sat in the parking lot and sobbed until I couldn't breathe. If this moment made your heart hurt even a little, hit that subscribe button. Or tell me in the comments why you won't. I'm curious. I really am. Because I need to know I'm not alone in this. I need to know there are other people out there who understand this kind of pain. After the wedding, I didn't hear from Daniel. Not a word. No apology. No explanation. Nothing. They went on their honeymoon, 2 weeks in Bali from what I saw on Olivia's Instagram, and I stayed home and tried to piece my heart back together. I told myself to give them space. Maybe once they settled into married life, Daniel would come to his senses. Maybe he'd realize what he'd done. Maybe he'd apologize. A week after they got back, there was a knock on my door. When I opened it, Daniel was standing there. For a split second, my heart leaped. I thought he'd come to apologize. I thought we were going to fix things. But the moment I saw his face, I knew something was wrong. He didn't look sorry. He looked confident, entitled, like he was about to ask me for something, and he already knew I'd say yes. He didn't even say hello. He walked right past me into my living room and said, Mom, we need to talk about your house. My house. I stood there, confused. What about my house? He sat down on my couch, the couch I'd bought at a yard sale 15 years ago because it was all I could afford, and he said, Olivia and I have been talking. We're starting our married life together, and we need real assets. We need security. And you have this big house, and you're all alone here. It doesn't make sense for you to keep it. I felt cold. Ice cold. Daniel, what are you saying? He leaned forward, his hands clasped together, and he said, We need you to sign the house over to us. The deed. We need you to transfer the property into our names. I couldn't speak. I literally couldn't form words. I just stood there, staring at him, waiting for him to say he was joking. But he wasn't joking. He was completely serious. You won't need such a big place anymore, he continued, like he was being reasonable, like he was doing me a favor. You could downsize. Get a small apartment. Something easier to manage. And we could really use the house. It's a good investment. It would give us a solid foundation for our future. Our future. Not my future. Theirs. The house I'd worked myself nearly to death to buy. The house where I'd raised him, where every room held memories of his childhood. He wanted to take it from me so he and his wife could have a solid foundation. I finally found my voice. Daniel, this is my home. I've lived here for 23 years. I bought this house with money I earned working 2 jobs while I raised you alone. This house is mine. He got frustrated then. I could see it in his face. Like I was being unreasonable. Like I was the problem. Mom, you're not thinking clearly. Olivia's parents talked to us about this. They said real family men transfer property to help their children get started. They said it's what parents do. Olivia's parents. Of course. Everything was starting to make sense. This isn't about what Olivia's parents think, I said, trying to keep my voice steady. This is about you coming into my house and demanding that I give up my home. The home I worked for. The home that's supposed to be my security for the future. Daniel stood up. His face was hard again. Cold. Just like it had been at the wedding. If you really loved me, you'd do this. If you really cared about my future, you'd help me. But I guess I was wrong about you. I guess you only care about yourself. Those words cut deeper than anything else he'd said. Only care about myself? I'd given him everything. Everything. And now he was standing in my living room calling me selfish because I wouldn't give him my house? If you don't sign over the deed, he said, his voice low and threatening, then I'm done. Do you understand? I'll cut you off completely. You'll never see me again. You'll never meet your grandchildren. You'll be alone for the rest of your life. Then he walked out. Just like that. He left me standing there, shaking, tears streaming down my face, while he got in his car and drove away. Stories like this are hard to share. They really are. If you're still watching, prove it by subscribing. If not, at least tell me why in the comments. Because I need to know that someone out there understands what this feels like. After Daniel left, I couldn't stop thinking about what he'd said. About Olivia's parents. About how they'd told him that real family men transfer property. Something about it felt wrong. Off. So I started digging. I called an old friend who worked in real estate. Asked her to look up some information for me. And what she found. God, what she found made everything make sense. Olivia's family was drowning in debt. Her father had a serious gambling problem. He'd lost hundreds of thousands of dollars over the past few years. Their house was in foreclosure. They had creditors calling constantly. They were desperate. And then my friend found something even worse. She found text messages. Olivia had been careless. She'd bragged to a friend about her plan, and that friend had screenshots. Screenshots that my friend was able to track down. In those messages, Olivia talked about Daniel. She said she'd secured a guy with access to a house. She said her plan was to get the property transferred ASAP so they could sell it and pay off her father's debts. She even laughed about how easy it was to manipulate Daniel. She said he was desperate for approval and that she just had to keep him away from his overbearing mother. My son didn't marry for love. He married a con artist. A woman who saw him as nothing more than a means to an end. A way to save her family from financial ruin. And he had no idea. He thought she loved him. He thought this was real. I printed out everything. Every text message. Every piece of evidence. And I called Daniel. I asked him to come over. I said it was important. He showed up looking annoyed. Like I was wasting his time. But when I showed him the papers, when I showed him the texts, the messages, the screenshots of Olivia bragging about securing the house, his face went white. This isn't real, he said, but his voice was shaking. You faked this. You're trying to ruin my marriage. Daniel, look at the dates. Look at the phone numbers. This is real. Olivia married you because she thought you had access to my house. She was planning to manipulate you into getting the deed, so she could sell it and pay off her father's gambling debts. He was shaking his head, backing away from me.
No.
No, she loves me. She wouldn't do this. Daniel, please. Look at the evidence. I know this is hard to hear, but you need to know the truth. But he wouldn't listen. He grabbed the papers, tore them up, and threw them on my floor. You're a liar, he shouted. You're jealous because I found someone. You can't stand that I'm happy. You want to control me forever. And then he stormed out. Again. If you think I should have told him sooner, subscribe. If you think I waited too long, tell me in the comments. Because I keep replaying this moment in my head, wondering if I did the right thing. Days went by. I didn't hear from Daniel. I assumed he'd told Olivia what I'd shown him. I assumed she'd convinced him I was lying. I thought I'd lost him forever. But then, 5 days later, my phone rang at 2 a.m. It was Daniel. And he was crying. Mom, he sobbed. Mom, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I sat up in bed, my heart pounding. Daniel? What happened? You were right. You were right about everything. Olivia, she admitted it. She admitted that she only married me for the house. She said she needed it to pay off her dad's debts. She said she thought I'd be easy to manipulate. She said I was pathetic. I could hear him breaking down on the other end of the line. My baby. My son. He sounded destroyed. She's been lying to me this whole time, he continued, his voice choked with tears. She never loved me. She was just using me. And I threw you out of my wedding. I threatened to cut you off. I called you selfish. Mom, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I was crying too. Where are you right now? I'm at a hotel. I left. I couldn't stay there. Mom, I don't know what to do. I ruined everything. I ruined us. No, I said firmly. You didn't ruin us. We're going to be okay. We're going to fix this. The next morning, Daniel came to my house. He looked terrible, red eyes, wrinkled clothes, like he hadn't slept in days. And maybe he hadn't. He broke down the moment he walked through the door. He fell to his knees and sobbed. I'm sorry, Mom. I'm so sorry for everything. For the wedding. For demanding your house. For saying those horrible things to you. You gave me everything, and I treated you like you were nothing. I knelt down beside him and held him. Just like I used to when he was little and he'd hurt himself or had a nightmare. I held my son and let him cry. When he finally calmed down, I helped him to the couch. And then I said what needed to be said. Daniel, I forgive you. I do. But things have to change. I can't go through this again. I won't. He nodded, wiping his eyes. I know. I know. You let someone manipulate you into turning against me, I said. You let her convince you that I was the problem, that I was controlling you, and you believed her instead of trusting your own mother. That can't happen again. It won't, he said. I swear it won't. And my property, I continued. This house stays mine. Do you understand? This is my security, my future. I worked for it and no one, not you, not anyone, will ever take it from me. I understand, he said quietly. I never should have asked. I don't know what I was thinking. You weren't thinking, I said. You were being controlled. But that's over now. From now on, you rebuild trust with me slowly. You prove that you mean what you're saying. You show me through your actions, not just your words. He agreed to everything. He told me he was leaving Olivia. He told me he'd already talked to a lawyer about an annulment. The marriage had only lasted a few weeks. It could be undone. If you stayed until the end, please subscribe. It really helps this small channel grow. And if you won't subscribe, please comment why. I read every message. I really do. Over the next few months, Daniel and I slowly rebuilt our relationship. It wasn't easy. There were moments when I looked at him and remembered standing at that wedding venue while a security guard escorted me out. There were moments when I remembered him demanding my house. The pain of those memories didn't just disappear. But Daniel worked for it. He went to therapy, individual therapy to work through how he'd been manipulated, and eventually we did some family therapy together. He moved into a small apartment, got back on his feet, and started making his own decisions again. He apologized constantly. Sometimes too much. I had to tell him that I'd forgiven him, but that didn't mean I'd forgotten. It meant we were moving forward, but with new boundaries. Healthier boundaries. Not the kind Olivia had pushed, the kind that isolated him from everyone who loved him, but real boundaries that protected both of us. Olivia tried to contact him several times. She called, texted, even showed up at his apartment once. She claimed she really did love him, that she'd made a mistake, that she wanted to work things out. But Daniel didn't fall for it again. He blocked her number. He told her to leave him alone. He was done. As for me, I'm still here in my house. My home. The home I worked 2 jobs to buy. The home where I raised my son. And it's mine. It will always be mine. I found peace, even though the relationship with Daniel is still healing. We have dinner together once a week now. We talk on the phone. We're rebuilding that closeness we used to have. But I'm careful now. I'm protective of my heart in a way I never had to be before. Because I learned something painful through all of this. Sometimes the people we love most, the people we die for, can hurt us worse than anyone else ever could. And we have to be strong enough to protect ourselves, even from them. Daniel learned painful lessons too. About trust. About manipulation. About not letting anyone, no matter how much you think you love them, convince you to betray the people who truly love you. We're both scarred. But we're both still here. Still fighting. Still trying. And maybe that's enough. Thank you for listening to my story. Thank you for staying until the end. If this resonated with you, if you've been through something similar, or if you just want to support a small channel trying to share real stories about real pain, please subscribe. Please like this video. And please, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. Let me know I'm not alone in this. Because that's what we all need, isn't it? To know we're not alone. I'm Margaret. And this was my story.